By now you should know that developers use pseudo classes to style and make web pages more interactive. In this video, you will explore pseudo classes that you can use to style links on web pages, namely web link states. Although you can use web link states for many functionalities, developers often use them to style the color of links that a user already opened. For instance, a HTML file can have two A tags, each with its own href that links to a different page of a website. To give the links their initial color, you can use the link pseudo class selector. And to let the links change color once a user has visited these pages, you can use the visited pseudo class selector. But if you're using multiple pseudo classes for a specific element, there is an important rule to keep in mind. The order in which you apply pseudo classes in a document determines which style will be displayed, so be careful not to accidentally overwrite a style you want to set. Developers use the acronym LVHA to remind them of the order that they need to follow when writing pseudo class rules. LVHA stands for Link, Visited, Hover, Active. So always apply pseudo class styles in the correct order. First link, then visited, next hover, and lastly active. Now that you know more about web link states, let's explore how to use the link, visited, hover, and active pseudo classes. Additionally, you will learn two more effects that you can create with the hover pseudo class. In the pseudo links.html file, I added three tags, a heading tag followed by a paragraph tag and another paragraph tag. In the heading tag, I added the name of the restaurant, Little Lemon, and the first paragraph tag has a link to their Instagram page. Now I go to my CSS code by clicking on the pseudo links.css file at the top of my screen. In this file, I already added properties related to the pseudo classes we discussed previously, namely link, visited, hover, and active. To display the output of this code, I move back to my HTML file and click the view icon at the top right of my screen. By default, the link to the Little Lemon Instagram page displays in a blue color because I set it to blue with the link pseudo class in the CSS code. As expected, when I move the mouse over the link, the color changes to green because I added green as the value of the color attribute in the hover pseudo class. Let's test what happens when I click and hold the link. It changes to white text on a black background, just like defined with the active pseudo class property. When I click on the link to visit the Little Lemon Instagram page, the system asks me to connect to an external source since I am using Visual Studio Code. I click the cancel option for now, but after I visit the link, the color of the link will change to violet because I defined it to do that with the visited pseudo class. I'm now going to demonstrate how you can use the pseudo class hover. To do this, I use the pseudo shadow.html file I created previously. In this file, I added 4 paragraph tags, each belonging to a class called textual. I also added random text, commonly used in publishing and graphic design, as placeholder text. The CSS code that I added is fairly simple. The first property defines the properties of the textual class. The second property defines the effect that the pseudo class hover will have on the textual class. For the hover pseudo class, I use the shorthand for a box shadow property. As you've seen earlier, box shadow adds one or more shadows to an element. The horizontal offset is set to 5 pixels. The vertical offset is set to 0 pixels. The blur radius is set to 25 pixels, and the color of the shadow is set to black. I move back to my HTML file to output this code and click on the view icon. The Little Lemon page with blocks of text displays. The text looks like regular blocks of text, but when I hover over a block of code with my mouse, it gets highlighted with a box shadow around the edges. I get the same effect when I hover over any other block of text, as all the blocks of text belong to the same textual class. This is an interesting effect that is simple to create with the help of the hover pseudo class. In this video, you learned how to use pseudo classes like web link states to improve the interactivity of web pages. You also explored additional effects that you can create with the hover effect.